Massive public spending on defense is reshaping Europe's economic outlook. After US President Donald Trump's pressure, the European Union and Germany launched unprecedented fiscal programs. However, the big question now is, can this surge in spending pull Europe out of its economic slump? Deutsche Welle correspondent Mathis Richtmann in Berlin breaks it down.
Yeah, so I think unprecedented is just the right word to describe what's happening, and that's on two levels. So this week, Germany's lower chamber passed a huge spending bill. That encompasses two things. One is infrastructure spending in the size of 500 billion euros. The second is taking caps off spending on defense. Now, that second part needs some explanation, because Germany in general has some of the strictest fiscal rules globally. But now it takes off the lids of how much money it can spend on defense. And that could potentially unleash unlimited amounts on defense. And that should be seen as sort of a symbolic deterrent against Russia. Now, the second part is what's happening in the European Union, and they've also proposed a new big spending push. But the important thing here is that it seems that this spending push on defense is bringing Europe together and to act as a union. Yeah, so the EU as a whole is sort of stuck in a low-growth environment. Germany specifically has reported 2 consecutive years of negative growth recently. So the situation can be described as somewhat dire, especially in terms of jobs. So the car manufacturers here have been laying off swaths of workers, which is a problem for an industrial country like Germany. Now, what we've already seen starting to happen is that arms manufacturers here are snapping up some of these highly skilled workers from cars manufacturers. So if this broader shift from cars to tanks, so to speak, is something that really takes pace, analysts' expectation is that it could massively boost growth over the next decade. Now, I've also mentioned this infrastructure spending bill in Germany. There the numbers are sort of clearer already. Economists at the DIW Institute here in Germany have expected that could boost output by 2 percentage points over the next 10 years, this bill alone. So that is massive compared to where we stand recently. Yeah, so one thing to understand is that about half of the weapons the EU procures right now come from outside of the European Union. So spending money on arms and then sending it abroad is not going to boost growth here. Policymakers in the EU seem to have appreciated this fact, and part of the spending bill is that the money needs to be spent here inside the bloc, but this requires sort of a bigger industrial policy push to build up companies here to actually do that. And second, what analysts are saying is that some of this money needs to be spent on basic research. Military research can have huge spillovers into the wider economy, which is something that would need to be boosted to have wider growth effects.